This week, WWE shuffled their main roster deck with the Superstar Shake-Up. Raw and Smackdown Live are now rife with possibilities for fresh matchups and new storylines, but was this shake-up more of a light jiggle? And with these rearranged rosters, which shows future prospects look brighter? This is my take on the 2018 WWE Superstar Shake-Up. Nerds! What's up, everybody? I am Bernard Boo, this is WrestleBoo, and this week was the WWE Superstar Shake-Up with almost 40 superstars switching brands and reshaping the WWE landscape. Now let's run down the picks and take a look at the new rosters from a bird's eye view to determine which brand got the better end of the deal. Let's start off with Raw. They acquired Jinder Mahal, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Bobby Roode, Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Breezango, Natalya, Chad Gable, The Riot Squad, Mojo Rawley, Zack Ryder, The Ascension, and Mike Kanellis. And I'm also going to include the men and women who debuted last week on Raw: Bobby Lashley, Ember Moon, the authors of Pain, and No Way Jose. Now, when you plug these new superstars into the existing Raw roster, it looks to me like this is mostly a supplemental draft or shakeup for Raw. Not a lot of huge names coming over from SmackDown Live, not a lot of earth-shattering names. You do have guys like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, who were main event guys on SmackDown, but I think on Raw, their stars aren't shining as bright as like a Brock Lesnar or a Roman Reigns or even a Seth Rollins. But I think guys like Kevin and Sami have the opportunity to grow and reach that higher level on Raw. This was a good move for them. And also, I think Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Jinder Mahal are really key players here. Key moves from SmackDown because they are such successful heels. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn garner boos, even though they're kind of indie internet wrestling fan favorites. They've been doing great jobs as heels over the past few weeks or months on SmackDown Live, and here on Raw, they're going to be awesome heels for all of these baby faces. I mean, at the top of the card, you've got Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins, and really Finn Balor, right? Brock Lesnar is kind of a non-factor here. He might lose the championship in a couple weeks here. So your four biggest stars on Raw are baby faces. You need heels. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are great. And Jinder Mahal, I think he has the most upward mobility here. I think he could be a great foil for any of those baby faces. He hasn't really wrestled these guys before. So I think Jinder Mahal could be a main eventer come the end of the year. Guys like Baron Corbin, Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, these guys are going to do a good job at filling that mid-card role, that upper mid-card role. I think there is opportunity for them to maybe grow up to that main event status. I think Baron Corbin has a good chance of that. Rumors are that Vince really likes Baron, and Vince is more involved in Raw than he is SmackDown, so maybe Baron will get a shot here. I hope that happens, but I think for now, initially, those four guys are going to be filling out that mid-card zone. And there are good matchups for these guys on the Raw mid-card. You've got guys like Bobby Lashley, who's just debuted and looks great. Elias is on the up and up. He's just getting better and better every week. And then you've got Woken Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, who, well, I guess they're about to be, seems like they're about to be tag team champions or become the tag team champions at the Greatest Royal Rumble. They're going to be single stars again very soon. I don't think they're going to stay a tag team for too long. So there are a lot of great possibilities in that mid-card. I like the way the Raw mid-card looks. Mojo Rawley is on Raw now too. He made the brand switch, and I think this might be the best thing for him. He has so much potential, and maybe this new surrounding, these new settings will really be the thing to reinvigorate his character and motivate him to climb up that ladder and get to the mid-card or main event status over time. The Raw women's division actually looks really great to me. You've got that backbone of Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. Those girls are really the foundation for me. And then you've got really solid workers like Ember Moon, who's on the up and up and looking great, and Mickie James, and Natty Neidhart. And then you've got the Riot Squad in there as well. Dana Brooks in there. She doesn't really wrestle much, but she's kind of a nice asset if you need to squash somebody, which is kind of sad, but you need people like that. And then on top of all of that, you've got Ronda Rousey on Raw, who is arguably one of the biggest stars on the entire show. She did a great job at WrestleMania of proving that she can hang in that ring. So, man, Raw's women division looks pretty stacked and solid. Now, the big surprise here is the Raw tag team division. To me, after the Superstar Shake-Up, that division looks super anemic as far as star power. You've got Matt and Bray, who are most likely going to be the new Raw Tag Team Champions, but they're not a real tag team. They're probably not going to stay together forever or even for a long time. So now I've got the roster here. Looking at these tag teams, the biggest stars, I think, are AOP, the Authors of Pain. That sounds silly, but check it out. The rest of the list, The Revival, haven't found their legs yet. Breezango have been floundering. Titus Worldwide, The Ascension, The Miztourage, Heath Slater, and Rhino. Now, this is surprising, and I do think, like I said, this is an anemic tag team division, but that's great for the tag teams who are in that division because that means it's all up for grabs. Everyone has an opportunity to really become stars on Raw as a tag team. Like I said, the biggest stars in that list are probably the Authors of Pain and The Revival. Perfect. These two teams have had great matches in the past, and if the tag team division could be led by these great kind of NXT standout teams, this could be really exciting for Raw. And this is kind of uncharacteristic as far as the Raw booking goes historically. They usually kind of put a lot of the bigger stars on Raw and give SmackDown the more up-and-coming talents, but this tag team division, these are all up-and-coming talents, or at least talents who have the opportunity to raise their status. Overall, I think the Raw roster looks pretty good. The additions from SmackDown, while I think they're going to be really useful, and I think they're going to supplement that roster really well and make for some new possibilities and exciting television, I think Raw's kind of going to feel the same a little bit going forward. Roman's on there, and Seth and Finn and Braun Strowman. I mean, these guys kind of dominate that program, so I think Raw's not really going to feel all that different moving forward, but there are a few interesting new moving parts in there that are going to, well, they're going to shake things up. I guess that's appropriate. Now let's check in on the new members of the SmackDown Live roster. We've got The Miz, Samoa Joe, Asuka, Jeff Hardy, Big Cass, The Bar, Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, Sanity, The Good Brothers, R-Truth, and just to add in the people who debuted last week, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, the Iconics. Now, this is where things get really interesting. I'm super stoked about the new additions to SmackDown Live and the roster as a whole. At the top, you've got mainstays like AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Randy Orton, and Daniel Bryan. Guys like this who have been on that show for a while and they really helped build that brand and we associate with that brand, like AJ Styles. He really did build that brand. That's not just a gimmick, right? AJ Styles and SmackDown Live are synonymous at this point. But now you've got new players like The Miz, Samoa Joe, and Jeff Hardy coming in to really enrich that upper tier of the SmackDown Live roster. And like I said about Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Jinder Mahal, Samoa Joe and The Miz are key here. They're my two favorite heels in the whole company, and they're both on SmackDown Live, right? So they're going to do a great job. They're going to be great opponents for an AJ Styles and a Daniel Bryan. And speaking of opponents for Daniel Bryan, Big Cass, although he never really made it to that main event level, his run got cut short by a knee injury, I believe. He's back now, and on SmackDown Live, he ended the show by beating the crap out of Daniel Bryan, or big booting the crap out of his face at least. Big Cass has so much potential, and they've already inserted him into that main event level. That's a smart move. I think Cass is actually ready for that, even though we haven't seen him wrestle so much as a singles. I just have a gut feeling that he's going to excel on SmackDown. And now Samoa Joe is on SmackDown Live. This is awesome. Think of all the possibilities. Joe versus Rusev, Samoa Joe versus Daniel Bryan, Joe versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and think about this. This one blows my mind. Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles in a main event feud. That would be mind-bending. That's because these two were kind of cornerstones of TNA for so many years. They were a big reason why that company did find moderate success like 15 years ago. These two have had classic matches. I can't even count how many classic matches Joe and AJ have had, and I'm sure they'll reference that history when they do enter into a program at some point. But that's the one. That's the possibility that really, really entices me. And there's another dream match that I have in mind on SmackDown Live that doesn't actually involve any of the new acquisitions, but it's Shinsuke Nakamura and Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan is such an invaluable part of that roster. We're so lucky to have him wrestling again. But he's said for many years, Daniel Bryan, that he's wanted to wrestle Shinsuke Nakamura. And now there's the chance for that. I think it's kind of inevitable now. They're both in that main roster zone, and Shinsuke is a heel. I think so far he's been a great heel, and there's no better babyface maybe in modern wrestling history than Daniel Bryan, so those two are going to be magic together when they lock up. On SmackDown this week, they also teased a Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton feud, which, man, I'm all for that. Even though these two guys are veterans and they've been there for a long time, I think they can still go in that ring. And those characters, I don't know. That's for some reason that's really fascinating to me. Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton, especially because I just realized if they're going to get into a feud, Randy should turn heel. Let's get a heel Randy Orton. Maybe this is the way we get Randy Orton into that heel space. Awesome. Shelton Benjamin's also freed up to be a single star now. This is how he should have been used from the beginning. That Chad Gable tag team didn't really work for me. And then there's the dark horse, Andrade Cien Almas, graduating from NXT. This guy has impressed me so much over the past several months. He had a barn burner with Johnny Gargano a few months ago at a takeover. And then he just had, man, maybe the match of his career with Aleister Black at this past takeover. So Andrade Cien Almas, I've really been feeling him, and Zelina Vega. She's actually a big part of that equation. Now the women's division looks really interesting as well. You've got Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, the new women's champion Carmella, and Naomi still at the top of that roster, but you've got new additions like Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, who have impressed me so much over the past 2 weeks. The Iconics, their mic skills are good, and in the ring, they look much improved. And then you've also got Absolution, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville coming over. Those two girls have also shown great improvement. And then you've got Asuka, who is such an asset to that division. She can have a good match with anybody, and I think she will. They can pair her up with anyone on that roster, and she'll elevate them. All right, the SmackDown Live tag team division, bonkers right now after the shakeup. You've got the Bludgeon Brothers, the New Day, the Usos, the Bar, the Good Brothers, and Sanity. Man, like, all of those teams are exciting and have hype around them. Maybe the Good Brothers haven't had as much momentum lately, but I think everyone who's in the know and knows who those two guys are, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, and what they've done in this business overseas, for anyone to say that they're kind of a non-contributing factor to that division, you're tripping. You don't know what you're talking about. Every single one of these teams is hot right now, man. It just looks so stacked, so dense with talent and fully developed characters, you know. Raw maybe is interesting in that they don't have well-established tag teams over there at all, kind of from top to bottom, and that's exciting in its own way. SmackDown Live, any configuration of these 6 teams would be sweet. I mean, Sanity also, those guys are going to add a great flavor to SmackDown Live. That entrance is going to look so good on that main stage. So taking a step back and looking at these two rosters, on the Raw side, I think they got a lot of good supplemental talents added to that roster. Guys like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are invaluable heels on there, as is Jinder Mahal. So there's going to be a bit of a shakeup there on Raw, but nothing too DNA changing, right? They're not really changing the DNA of Raw over there with these picks. And especially because Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, we kind of still associate them with Raw. They weren't on SmackDown Live for that long, right? So, yeah, the women's roster is really stacked on Raw. Lots of great matchups to be had. The tag team division, though, might be the most exciting thing here because they kind of purged. They purged the Bar, and they purged the Good Brothers, you know, some of their most talented tag teams, and now they're over on SmackDown making way for guys like the Ascension and Breezango, who have been on WWE.com vignettes for so long. So maybe that's yeah, the tag team division, the Raw tag team division, that's the most exciting thing for me coming out of this shakeup on the Raw side. But on the SmackDown side, pretty much everything is exciting about who SmackDown acquired here. I think The Miz, I like him better on SmackDown. We saw him on Raw, you know, for a short amount of time there, and he did well, obviously, but SmackDown felt like his show. He had that classic Talking Smack segment from a while ago, and that Daniel Bryan feud is ready and waiting for us now. That's going to be super, super highly anticipated, and I think they're going to deliver too. And also, you've got Samoa Joe. That's the big move, right? I think he's the highest profile superstar to make a switch, Samoa Joe. And I guess The Miz is up there too, but really Samoa Joe's more exciting because the matches he can have on there, man. Daniel Bryan versus Samoa Joe, Shinsuke, AJ Styles, I already went over this, but I'm just giddy with excitement at the prospect of Joe having feuds with these people. The SmackDown women's division looks pretty solid too. I think a key going forward is that you've got to make Asuka or Charlotte a heel here. Those two women just put on a clinic at WrestleMania, and I think because they're the two biggest stars, to me, one of them has to be a heel. If they do that, I think that women's division is going to take a better shape. But these up-and-comers like Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, they're going to help too, and I think they have the potential to be top stars by the end of the year. And like I said, the SmackDown Live Tag Team division is ridiculous. You could put those guys in there in any combination, and you're going to get good TV, good matches. It's too sweet. Speaking of too sweet, the Good Brothers and AJ Styles are on the same show. So now that the dust has settled, I've got to say that I'm more excited for SmackDown Live coming out of that Superstar Shake-Up. I think they got a lot of game-changing new members added to their roster, and Raw looks really good too, but if I'm being honest about which show I'm more excited for going forward to see what's going to happen, what new developments are going to arise as a result of this Superstar Shake-Up, it's SmackDown Live. I think SmackDown is going to be the show to watch moving forward. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and let me know what you thought of the Superstar Shake-Up in the comments. I am Bernard Boo. This is WrestleBoo, and I'll see you next time.